নির্মল পল আমাদের জন্য একটা মেসেজ লিখেছেন, তার মেসেজটা একটু পড়ে দেওয়ার জন্য অনুরোধ করছি ইঞ্জিনিয়ার আফিয়া আঞ্জুমকে।
Greetings to everyone present here. I will be reading the message from Nirmal Paul for Rabindranath Tagore Foundation 2023. Mr. President, distinguished guests, dignitaries, and our fellow citizens, it is a great honor and pride for me to express my sincere respect from deep inside of my heart to our beloved and renowned Rabindranath Tagore. ছোট স্থান মহৎ প্রাণ, কুষ্টিয়া সংস্কৃতি সারা বাংলায় পরিচিত, সাম্প্রদায়িক সম্প্রীতির উজ্জ্বল আদর্শ, স্বাধীনতা সংগ্রামের বীরত্বের এক অপূর্ব কাহিনী। যেখানে জ্ঞান এবং গুণের সমাদর করা হয়, সেখানেই জ্ঞানী এবং গুণীজনেরা সমাগম করেন। দেবেন্দ্রনাথ ঠাকুর, রবীন্দ্রনাথ ঠাকুর, লালন ফকির, যতীন্দ্রনাথ চট্টোপাধ্যায়, মহাত্মা গান্ধী, মীর মোশাররফ হোসেন, আজিজুর রহমান, কাঙ্গাল হরিনাথ এবং সৈয়দ মুজতবা আলী প্রমুখ বিশিষ্ট জ্ঞানী গুণী মানুষেরা এখানে সমাগম করেছিলেন। 1971 সালের কুষ্টিয়ার স্বাধীনতা সংগ্রামের কাহিনী পাশ্চাত্য দেশের সংবাদ মাধ্যমগুলোতে প্রকাশিত হতো। সে সময় যুক্তরাষ্ট্রের সম্মানিত পত্রিকা নিউ ইয়র্ক টাইমসের সম্পাদকীয়তে কুষ্টিয়াকে ভিয়েতনামের মাইলাই শহরের সাথে তুলনা করেছিল। কুষ্টিয়ার এই মহান আদর্শের উপর ভিত্তি করেই রবীন্দ্রনাথ ঠাকুর ফাউন্ডেশন প্রতিষ্ঠিত হয়েছে। এই সংস্থা সম্পূর্ণ জাতি, ধর্ম এবং রাজনীতির বাহিরে। এই প্রতিষ্ঠানের মূল উদ্দেশ্য হল বাংলা সাহিত্য এবং বাংলা সংস্কৃতি সংরক্ষণ করা এবং নতুন প্রজন্মকে বাংলা সাহিত্য এবং সংস্কৃতিতে উৎসাহিত করা। Freedom and democracy go hand in hand. Freedom is the most precious thing in our life. Rabindranath stated, "Political freedom does not give us freedom when our mind is not free." He had a lifelong conviction concerning the importance of freedom in education. He stated, "We, in our home, sought freedom of power in our language, freedom of imagination in our literature, freedom of soul in our religious creeds, and that of mind in our social environment." Such an opportunity has given me confidence in the power of education, which is one with life and only which can give us real freedom, the highest that is claimed for man, his freedom of moral communication in the human world. He passionately advocated universal spiritual awareness and sharply criticized the materialism and the belligerent nationalism that he felt were becoming a dangerous global trend. On several occasions, he repudiated the idea of nationalism, which is called a menace. In 1934, Rabindranath rebuked Gandhi when an earthquake hit the state of Bihar and killed thousands of people, and Gandhi hailed it as seismic karma, as divine retribution, avenging the oppression of Dalits. Sarvapalli Radhakrishna, the distinguished philosopher, wrote in Philosophy of Rabindranath Tagore, "His personality is completely revealed in his poems, which are the unconscious expression of his soul, the outpourings of his devotional heart, and the revelation of his poetic consciousness. His writings must and do contain suggestions of his intellectual creed. Though poetry is not philosophy, it is possible for us to derive from Rabindranath's work his philosophical views." Charles Darwin's granddaughter, Frances Cornford, wrote on Rabindranath in 1912, "I can now imagine a powerful and gentle Christ, which I could never before." When Tagore's centenary birthday was being celebrated worldwide with great fanfare in 1961, President Kennedy quoted a majestic verse from Gitanjali and said, "Might serve as today's universal prayer." Tour of America. His 1913 Nobel Prize in Literature and the fact that some of his essays had been translated into English and other languages in Europe moved him onto the world stage. So he was getting invitations from many countries. He received warm welcome throughout his tours. He literally became a man of the world, traveling, lecturing, and raising funds for his educational institution Shantiniketan, abode of peace. Tagore's early recognition of poetic genius became known in the USA with the publication of 6 verses from Gitanjali, Song Offering, in Poetry Magazine of Chicago in 1912. His friends and admirers in the USA appreciated his writings and invited him for his fundraising lecture tour. He visited America 5 times from 1912 to 1930. He went to several cities coast to coast and gave lectures and earned money for his institutions. Tagore was a guest of honor at the White House and a private interview with President Herbert Hoover. When he was in the USA in 1912 on lecture tour, the idea of establishing a university at Shantiniketan germinated in his mind. As such, Vishwabharati was formed in 1918 and officially inaugurated on 23 December 1921. During his 1916 to 1917 lecture tour in America, Europe was going through World War I from July 28, 1914 through November 11, 1918. The United States officially entered the conflict on April 6, 1917. Rabindranath was an idealist, philosopher, and a great thinker. His statements and lectures were his honest thoughts and opinions. But during this time of World War I, people in the West misunderstood him and his campaign against nationalism, materialism, and militarism. Therefore, he faced some unpleasant and controversial situations. A possible attempt on his life was made by an extremist outfit, possibly an Indian expatriate, when he was staying at the Palace Hotel in San Francisco. British Secret Service uncovered plots in the US by Germans and Indian nationalists conspiring against British rule in India and implicated him. His name came up in the conspiracy trial in San Francisco. Rabindranath then sent a handwritten letter and cablegram to President Wilson in early May 1918, asking for protection against the Prosecution Council's lying calumny. He explained his thinking on patriotism and honesty and assured the president that the hospitality he received in the US was not bestowed upon one who was ready to accept it while wallowing in the subsoil sewerage of treason. An investigation by the Department of Justice cleared his name in August 1918. Even in 1920, when he was staying at Yama Farm, a retreat for American millionaires and their guests, John D. Rockefeller referred to him as an old nigger. Tagore desperately needed money for his institutions. His Nobel Prize money, his royalties, and revenues of his estate were all used as gifts to institutions. Now let me conclude with a quote which appeared in Time magazine under Bangladesh Liberation War, page 34, December 20, 1971 edition. Man's history is waiting in patience for the triumph of the insulted man. Rabindranath. We are proud to honor those who are on the road to extraordinary. May the giver of all God bless you all here and hereafter will remain my prayer. Thank you very much for listening to Nirmal Paul. Thank you for listening the written speech.